Can we truthfully speak on the dead? It's going to take us into a different conversation, but I saw a super interesting quote on the Instagrams, and Joe Budden actually talked about it on his podcast, and I'm looking in the wrong place for it because, anyways, they were talking about a tweet in reference to somebody recently passing away, and it said, "Speaking ill of the dead will break generational curses." I go, because I grew up as somebody who was taught not to speak ill of the dead. And I tend to not, I don't set out to say bad things about dead people, but I would truthfully speak about somebody once they've passed away. And if I felt that way while they were living, them dying doesn't change how I feel about them. Now, do I just say, fuck them, fuck them, fuck them? No, 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 no. I'm humane. I'm respectful because that dead person has live family members and I don't want to trigger them. Or, hell, I want to say put the bullet because the dead, that's a step too far. But I want to be, you obviously want to be respectful, but it kind of opens up something. Does speaking, if we decide to speak ill on dead people, will that break generational curses? Like, how do you take that quote?
I don't think it's going to break generational curses. I mean, just in the fact of the term speaking ill, you can speak your truth,
No, 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 no. Speak the truth.
the truth. You can be honest with, the feelings or the thoughts or whatever that you have with that person, but to purposely speak ill on somebody, especially the dead, is not going to break generational curses. Is actually going to continue to bring a curse into the family, because then your kids are seeing you act that way and then they think it's okay, and then it just continues to go on. And I don't think it's respectful. I don't think it's necessary, because you can say your truth without it being,
Rude.
yeah.
Right. And here's the thing, man. I see where they were trying to go with it. But it's somebody being on woke Twitter trying to get the retweet, probably try to get some DM from a woman. You know how these in touch woke guys do. Um and I think that it goes into how we have the family member who kind of does some stuff that we're not okay with, and hasn't I'm not aware of it happening in my family, right? But sometimes there's the family member who may be sexually abusing people or maybe the creep, right? And people know about it, but they don't say anything about it. And then they just kind of like turn a blind eye to something, not realizing that they're traumatizing the next R. Kelly. And that's a joke, but that's serious. Like, not defending anything R. Kelly did, but R. Kelly was sexually abused as a child. And most people who sexually abuse children were sexually abused as children because guess what? What we are introduced to is right to us, whether or not it's right or wrong. Not excusing it, just having a conversation here, right? And I think they're trying to go in that direction. Like if we have these open and honest conversations about people who've passed away, um, it would help us advance ourselves and advance our families and stuff. But for one, I'm tired of y'all talking about breaking generational curses because a lot of your generational curses started um, during integration. Okay. It's going to take us into the next thing we're going to talk about in Kevin Samuels. Back when talking to black people right now, okay? When we actually owned more things because we couldn't use the other people's stuff, so we had our own stuff and we had our own ecosystems, we had our own economies, we had our own communities that were thriving. Okay, we had our own sports leagues. Yeah, you see that right there? That over my shoulder right here. That's a Negro leagues. Yeah, Atlanta's Negro League team, right? We wouldn't dare start anything like that today. So when you start thinking about these generational curses, you might be the first generation of the curse, or the second generation of the curse, right? And little do you know, you're part of the problem that you're fighting against because you get so caught up on this historical stuff. But look, man, no, you don't speak ill of the dead. If we want to have a conversation about somebody, I think we should speak truthfully. Like I tell people all the time, hey man, if people go up there when I die talking about how nice I am, miss me with that. Don't go up there talking about how nice I am. I have a good heart, but I'm not an extremely nice person. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Like, don't. No, I'm an asshole.
Yeah.
I tend to speak my mind, and I say things that rub people the wrong way. Then I come back and I clean it up. That's me. That's who I am.
Yeah.
Say that about me when I die. Don't say, "Oh man, he was such a nice person."
You didn't know him.
Exactly. So with these conversations about the dead, I think that we do so much to preserve their legacies that we misremember people. But I also think that we need to be sensitive to those who have passed away. I think we need to be sensitive to their families, sensitive to their loved ones. Like, just think about this. Kevin Samuels passed away last week, and his mother found out on social media that he passed away. And not only does she have to find out that her son passed away on social media, which I think it's sick, but I also understand it's people reporting news and that's the media doing the media's job, letting the people know what goes on. You'd like to think if you are a source with that information and you're about to break it, you could at least see if the family knows. But at the same time, you get paid for what you put out and being that source. So if you sit on it and somebody else is sick and nasty, they get to report it and you don't get your due for it, which maybe you should be okay with that. I'd hate to find out that one of my loved ones passed away on social media. I get it if it's like third line, you know what I mean? Maybe even if it's somebody I went to school with, something like that. But if we are close friends, if we communicate via phone, via text, via group text on a regular basis, I like to find out that you passed away before I see the RIP post. Um, and that's how his mom had to find out about it. But worse than her having to find out about it is she had to see some of the nasty stuff that was said about him. And now we're gonna have a conversation about Kevin Samuels. But I want to talk about some of the nasty things that was said about Kevin Samuels. Like, what was it? Vivica A. Fox was like, "Karma, rest in peace."
Yeah.
Like, hold on, you mean somebody speaking his mind means he should die because you don't agree with his perspective? It's okay that he's no longer living? Because maybe he challenged your views, maybe he challenged your experiences, maybe he said some things that rubbed you the wrong way. I'll tell you what, man, if somebody criticizes me and it's not true, it doesn't really bother me. I go, it's nothing. But if somebody says something about me and it speaks to some of my shortcomings and it's actually valid, I'm triggered. I'm triggered. And it's not their fault I'm triggered. It's my fault. Because I can't manage my triggers. Now, I need to manage my triggers, go find cover so I don't get hit by the bullet, so I can return fire, right? But what were your thoughts on some of the stuff you saw about the response to Kevin Samuels' death?
I think it's disgusting, to be honest. Like it kind of goes into the mental health piece where everybody's sensitive to, or like you said, the word triggered, um, to everything, as if there's just no negative in this world, and you have to guard your energy and all this stuff. I think they take it too far where somebody's words are having them think and feel that death was their, was their karma for it.
Yep.
Like, that's just wild to me.
How many times did you listen to Kevin Samuels before preparing for this podcast?
Uh, None.
Boom. You don't have to listen to it. Here's the beautiful thing about the internet is the things that we consume on YouTube or on Instagram are our choice.
Mm.
Now, if it's sent to a group text, group message, got it. You may read it, you may listen to it, and you go, you know what? I don't like this. And then anytime you see that person's face again, or you see their name in the caption, just skip it. You just skip it. You got to protect your peace. You got to protect your peace, right? You know what I'm saying? But you can only get so mad about something that you do to yourself so many times, right? If I get drunk and I wake up with a hangover, I can only be mad at myself like the first or second time. But once I know my alcohol tolerance, if I decide to surpass it, or if I just think that I can keep drinking and I got to wake up early in the morning, oh, that's a me problem. That's not an alcohol. Well, it is an alcohol problem, but it's not alcohol's problem.
Yeah, word that better. It's not alcohol's
It's not
problem.
alcohol's problem that I'm hungover. It's my problem because I chose to get hungover. So if you're triggered by what Kevin Samuels says, it's not Kevin Samuels' fault that you're triggered. It's your fault because you decided to continue to consume something that interrupted your peace or triggered you.
Yeah.
And I think that the karma for words is death. And you talk, and it's the same people who want to talk about protecting their peace and being heard and being understood and being under, you know what I mean? And being like, oh yes, my mentals aren't right because of this right here. Nigga die. What? Hold on. Whoa. Yeah, your mentals are not right because you're wishing death on somebody for talking.
Yeah.
And not even to you because hey, he just disrespects black women. There's not a woman that he spoke about on his show or spoke to. I ain't gonna say spoke about. There's not a woman that he spoke to on his show did not ask to be there. They
And
asked.
stayed. Like, if it was really a problem, you can hang up or whatever, right?
Yeah, you're on a Zoom call.
Yeah. So they have the choice to get out of there, but they continued the discussions. These women like continued the discussions and continued to be involved and let him talk the way that he did to them, or say the things that they did. Like, you could have made those responses cut short and just hang up. Just like you said with, you don't have to watch it. You don't have to read it.
But here's the thing. They wanted the information. They valued what he said. And for those who don't like it, it's okay. But he had over 1 million followers on all of his socials, which means what he said resonated. I'm not saying all of it's factual, but it resonated. People learned from it. Hell, if somebody's going to tell me that I'm average at best, and here's what I should expect in a relationship, and I sit there and continue to listen to it, I'm mad. I stayed on the conversation. I could have hung up. But no, these people ask for that. And if you know how he is, you can't get mad at him for being him. You can only be mad at you for being mad at him for being him. But again, we don't live in a society that does that anymore. People are supposed to dance around our triggers and not control their own. Like, if you want to shoot me, you got to pull the trigger. I can't pull your trigger.
Yeah.
I can't pull your trigger. You got to pull your own trigger. Now, let's get into Kevin Samuels because I did not consume a lot of Kevin Samuels while he was living. I consumed some. I thought it was cool. I thought a lot of what he said was valid. It's just not what I was interested in listening to. I just consume other forms of media throughout the day. I consume a lot of sports media and listening to somebody give women dating advice, who were looking for what is a high value man, which I consider myself. And I would see most of these women, and I would just like, yeah, I would never date you. And you think you could just get a guy like me or my friends? Hell no, we won't go out with you ever. And not to mention, I'm also in a relationship, so that's just not. Nah, I'm good, and it didn't really provide much content for my show, so I just didn't consume much of it. But to send him off, rest in peace to Kevin Samuels. Like seriously, rest in peace, Kevin Samuels. I think that he was great. I think he was a great light for things that needed to be said. I don't agree with everything that he said, but I think he started a very important conversation. I think that he hit on some things that people don't want to talk about, but are true. Like, yo, you can't be a six with like weird, ugly tattoos and two kids from two different dudes and think that you can just date any and everybody. It just doesn't work like that. Like every guy has their own ranking system in their head, and certain little things are checks and certain little things are minuses. And you do the little math game in your head as you're interacting with the person. Yeah, it's like that. It really is, you know? And I hope you do the same, women. When you're looking for a partner, you go through things that you like, things that you don't like, and what's the cost benefit analysis, okay? And one of the big things that he hit on was like having outside kids. Not only do dudes not want to raise outside kids because I think that men are it's not the raising of the outside kids, it's dealing with the baby daddy. Like it's bringing extra drama to my door. And when I'm dating you, depending on the age of your kids, like if you ain't got no babysitter, I can't just pull up. You just can't pull up. We can't just like do things on a whim. Oh, I gotta get a baby. God dang, you inconveniencing me. And if the juice ain't worth the squeeze, then sorry, baby. You're just gonna be a fat orange instead of some orange juice. So I think that was important to talk about some of the false and lofty goals and expectations that women can create for themselves. That like, yo, this ain't your dating pool. Like, this is not your dating pool. Like, you don't play around in these waters. Stick to the don't go chasing waterfalls. Stick to the rivers and lakes that you used to, right? I know you're gonna make it, but you're moving too fast. You're just moving too fast. And he had that honest conversation, and it hurt feelings because it's honesty. And a lot of the prominent celebrity voices who spoke out against him, like your Vivica Foxes of the world, he wasn't talking to her. He wasn't talking to her. She over here trying to be the voice of women that she can't relate to. Like Vivica Fox was a poster on dudes' walls. People's celebrity crush. You can't relate to the girl who can't get a man? Now you might not be able to keep one, because that goes into your personality and how you act. But you ain't got no problem getting a man. Now, getting a man on your level, another conversation. But nonetheless, I think that Kevin Samuels was a very important figure. I think the pandemic allowed him to really expand and really touch a lot of people. And I'm happy to have had him in my life. I'm happy that he was able to spread his message to the world. And I hope that we can continue the conversation going that he's made oh so popular. Now, let me go get a perspective from a woman. What are your thoughts on Kevin Samuels?
Um, So I think a lot of what he said, not a lot. I most of what he said was truthful. Yes, the presentation of it wasn't my cup of tea. Um, and especially for women, I feel like you kind of have to present things in a way that makes us actually want to hear it and understand it instead of getting defensive so that it can actually do what it's supposed to do. The conversation is actually, what the conversation is supposed to do.
I think that's part of what his premise was. Is like you women are making all these damn rules, and it's like, hey, you're making these rules, but nobody wants to play your game.
But ain't he making rules saying, "Oh, well, that this is not going to work, and that's not going to work, and this guy's not going to have that," and this he has his own rules that he's talking about these high class or whatever it
High
is,
value
high
men.
value men. So there's a rule book for each side.
I don't think he was making rules. I think he was speaking to the mindset of most of the men that these women were speaking to.
And I'm speaking to the mindset of a woman. The way you present something makes us want to listen or not,
Well,
understand it or not, get defensive or not.
but
So instead of actually bringing like awareness and growth with these women, I think it did quite the opposite, where it's like now they're defensive and now they're not even actually gaining the information and education that they need from it because now they're just in full defense mode.
they asked him for advice.
That had nothing to do with what I said.
You're saying his presentation was problematic.
Mm-hmm. It's rude
And I'm saying that
and a little egotistic.
you knew how he gives it up. And you came and asked him for advice. And then when he explains something to you, you don't listen. And then you try to justify a behavior that he told you is problematic. So, did you really want advice?
I understand that
Because you're
part.
not receiving it.
I understand that part. And like I said, most of what he said is true. I'm not knocking what he's saying. I'm saying how he said it.
I'm going to knock how you're not talking into the microphone. But no, and don't get me wrong. I think its presentation was crass, but I also think that that's part of the showmanship of the show, right? Like, in order to get people engaged and wanting to watch and repost and the viral stuff, you 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 have to flirt that line of let's have a conversation and
Let's
let's
be
have a
messy.
let's have a show, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, and I'm willing to bet that the best advice that you could get, because he also did private sessions,
Mm-hmm.
you could do a private session, and I bet that the conversation was way less, animated for the private sessions.
I hope so.
Because I'm just willing to bet that it was just a better conversation,
Yeah.
because I know that there are topics I talk about on the podcast. I'm way less animated and over the top if I'm having the conversation off of the microphone, because I'm not entertaining.
Right.
But I think that the anti Kevin Samuels crowd, I think those are the personality types that he was trying to address with his platform.
Mhm. Well, a lot of these women did have high expectations that I'm like, oh, I've never even thought of these things or even thought to expect these things from men. And
You looked at them,
Mhm.
and you would look at them.
I would look at them.
Those women, it's like, hold on,
Oh yeah.
like yo,
Like why what? That's what you're expecting?
and the thing here is, because what was it? Less than 10% of men make six figures.
Mhm.
All of these women be expecting a 6 figure man,
And they don't even make
And not even that,
anything near that.
and not even that they don't even make it, because being fine can get you a lot in life.
Yeah.
They ain't that.
Yeah.
And most men who make a lot of money date fine women,
Mhm.
and their friends usually make a lot of money too,
Mhm.
who also date fine women.
Right.
So are you gonna be the one who show up with the beluga? Well, everybody got goddamn orcas.
Yeah, but that's another thing. Everybody's perspective of what is fine and what is beautiful and eye catching is different.
Let me tell you what. Let me tell you something about me and my partners. We all have different tastes in women. We all have different tastes in women, right?
Yeah.
But there is a there is a line of what looks good. Like there's some fine ass women out there who just don't do it for me. Like, oh yeah, she fine. Not into her. Like I don't even got to get to know her. I can just look at her like, nah, that ain't my type. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So like a nice looking woman, and I know perspective is different, but I mean, you done if you'd have been to a few states, lived in a few big cities, you done left the country a time or two, you know what fine is. Now I ain't asking somebody who's never left Cartersville what they think fine is. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Like I know I'm from there. I love y'all. But what's fine in Cartersville? Well, I ain't gonna walk outside and ask one of these farmers and be like, hey yo, hey, who's the finest girl in Albany? Okay, got you. You know what? The finest girl in Albany is probably like a 9.7. Cause it's baddies in like every city.
Mm.
It's just like one or
Yeah.
two, and then they move away, or they have a bunch of kids because everybody want to get at them. Or they start smoking cigarettes. And see, that's the one thing he didn't get into. Was like, which one of y'all smoke cigarettes?
For real.
I think a man want to kiss Newport breath.
Ugh. Disgust.
I don't. I won't. All right, man. Let's get into this last topic, and it's a little nerdy. A little nerdy. Talk a little Rico here. A little Rico here. And, you know, it's more so centered around the Young Thug and YSL and them. You know, they got locked up this week, and we watched a little documentary on
Yeah.
it. How did you feel about the Young Thug and
Yeah.
what's my man's
Yeah.
name?
All right.
I don't know.
And Lucci beef?
Oh
Always
yeah,
new
Lucci.
women gotta keep a balance.
Let me not talk what's illegal. Switch it up.
In your place, fam. My dad is from Memphis and I am the king. I should probably
You
just
ain't
move
feel
to
nothing about it.
Graceland. Madonna's a ting I know, and I'm the king of pop. I'm
How
building
you feel about
never,
Young
never
Thug?
land. How he hate me when I never met the man. Woo!
I don't know.
You might get hit with
I don't really have
Millie.
words.
Yeah.
Cause we in the field with them bird like we play for the Eagles. I'm on probation, so let me not talk what's illegal. Switch it up. Today I woke up with my drinker, she rich as a beetle.
I didn't hear anything you just said, man.
Okay.
I'm being honest, like I can't hear your hands in the video though. I
So
don't I don't care. You care. Who cares? You care, baby. But no, so Young Thug, Gunna, and some other YSL members were all taken in on RICO charges, right? And for those of you who don't know what RICO charges are, I don't care about you, Sean King. RICO is Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act. And pretty much what it does is, you know what? I actually have a YouTube video to explain to you all what RICO means so that I'm not explaining it. And it's not that dance that we start when we do hurt their feelings when we
So
start.
RICO is what's known as RICO. It's a short for Racketeering Influence Corrupt Organization. Any organization that is acting with illegal has illegal activities, from a regular corporation, Wall Street corporation, to gangs, can be prosecuted under the RICO Act. In order to be prosecuted under the RICO Act, the prosecutors have to, there's different levels and different elements that the government has to prove when it comes to prosecutions of RICO. However, generally, the prosecutor has to prove at least 2 or 3 separate acts that the corporation is committing that are illegal. So, for example, when you are prosecuting a gang, a street gang with RICO, prosecutors usually would show that that gang is dealing with drugs and committing murders. That would be enough to prove a RICO. Depends on, again, how, what statute section under the RICO Act you are being prosecuted under. Sometimes the prosecutor has to prove specifically those acts, and sometimes they can just generally prove certain when the jury deliberates, they don't really have to specifically tell or vote on a certain act. They can just in general say, yes, we find that the prosecutor proved that at least 2 acts are illegal.
All right, so boom, that pretty much sums up what RICO is. So it's an attack on an organization and not an individual. But what it does is it holds the individuals in the organization accountable for the actions of individuals within the organization. Because if you think about it, it was a great way to dismantle the mob, you know, and it's a great way to dismantle gangs in cities where gangs are a problem, you know, because it's hard to cut the head off the snake if you can never find it, right? Because the snake's so long, you never get to the head. You just keep cutting off little pieces, but it regenerates, and it may not be as strong as it once was, but it's so strong that you can't do anything with it. So, like I said, Young Thug and Gunna, they were brought in, or they were arrested, turned themselves in, and indicted on state RICO charges in the state of Georgia, which hold 5 to 25 years. And Thug has 2 counts, so he got 2. Thug might be sitting down for a little minute, but if he gets caught, we'll see what's going to happen. The code on shopping for car so yeah, after this ad plays, we're going to listen to Atlanta's DA, Fulton County DA, talk about it. Hold up, and we can kind of like go in it from there.
How much did social media, music play a role in bringing this indictment?
Social media is a wonderful tool for prosecutors in every indictment we bring nowadays.
And let's talk about obviously YSL. They're the territories that Cleveland Avenue, it's no secret. We've seen a ton of violence. Innocent bystanders get hit. So you guys believe that by getting them off the streets, that people in that neighborhood who are living in fear can actually have some peace now?
I believe that people in that neighborhood and at every corner of Fulton County deserve to be safe, even if it is financially lower, socially, economically. You know, I don't think that part of the community should be left behind. Me and the mayor and the police chief have talked about the fact that Cleveland in our community is referred to as Bleveland, that it is somewhere where just violence occurs, where they're marking up territory, it's blood territory. It's horrible. And you're absolutely right. That community deserves to be safe. And we are hoping that this helps to keep them.
In a recent interview, you said in the coming weeks and months to expect indictments, RICO charges, gang charges. We see that with fear, but this is only focused on the YSL gang. At that time, you used plural indictments. Should we expect more indictments against singular gangs in the coming weeks and months? Is that what you were meeting with that quote?
Yeah, and if you're already aware, we dropped an indictment not that long ago against YFN. It is certainly a tool that I believe in, which is using RICO. I believe the reason that I believe in it as a tool is it allows juries and the communities to see the complete picture of a crime so they can truly be educated and have facts to weigh when they're making decisions. And so if you're asking, should you expect to see other RICO indictments against other street gang organizations? Absolutely.
All right, man. So let me tell you something, right? So she's going to use RICO to clean up the streets of Atlanta. Either she is dead set on cleaning up. Shut up, Siri. Either she's dead set on cleaning up the streets of Atlanta, or she's ready to extort the music industry by going after YFN, which is Lucci's gang, Young Fly N-Words, and YSL, Young Stoner Life. Yeah. Or Young Slime Life, depends on who you ask. She is taking a stance on some of the biggest artists in the city, and maybe the people around them are cold-blooded criminals and need to be where they're going, and maybe the faces are cold-blooded criminals and need to be where they're going, or maybe they just orchestrate criminal activity. I don't know. That's not my place to say. It's the jury's place to say. But when you're going back to 2012 for Young Thug, they go all the way back to 2012. And now he's one of the biggest artists in the game. He's using his record label to employ his family and friends to not only just so they're not sucking him dry. They're not leeches, right? They're feeding into the machine that creates more money and a better life for them. And, they're from the street. They do street stuff. Apparently, he just acquired 100 acres, and he was going to start hosting festivals there. Is this why we're going after him? Is it the powers that be saying, well, whoa, Thug is trying to do his own music festival that people will definitely come to? Other rappers get the idea that we need to pull the gang card now and go after the stuff that we know is going on? Or is the DA really trying to clean up the streets of Atlanta? Because don't get me wrong, Atlanta's gotten it's been crime, but it's gotten a lot worse. And I'm skeptical of politicians, for one. Sorry, I am. But I just wonder if she's trying to actually clean up the streets, or is she trying to make a name for herself for her next move? Or is she just trying to extort these people? Because the powers that be will pay a lot of money. I don't know about YFN now. I'm but YSL gonna had a #1 album over the weekend. Thug last album went #1. We was pushing P. We was Slat. We was sliming. Anytime Thug is on the feature on the hook, it goes right. Is she just trying to get some money for the city? I'm just curious. As she talked about RICO paints the full picture. Maybe if we're acting in concert. But if we're not acting in concert and we're just part of an organization, it does not paint a full picture. It paints a false picture. Now imagine, right? But Equal Rights Media, right? My media company. We hire, 5, 6 employees to work for the company. And they have on but equal rights stuff and they go rob somebody. And they regularly robbing people. I don't know they robbing folks.
Right.
Or if I do know, I say, hey, y'all relax. I heard y'all doing this. Well, no, we ain't doing that. We ain't doing that. Nah, bro. Then they do some other stuff. Then they start doing stuff in the name of the company, but it's just them. And they're taking legitimate business and doing shady stuff on the side. And now they laundering money. I don't know that they laundering this money because they getting cash, and then they making their money right in my books for what I'm expecting them to bring back. But doing the other stuff, I gotta get locked up for them. We're not acting in concert. We're part of the same organization, but they were acting independently.
Right.
Well, that's a lack of oversight. Oh, forgive me. I'm not checking people's bank accounts in their pockets. I don't hang out with my employees after they leave work. You know what I mean? So I think that the RICO is lazy cop work. I honestly think RICO should be unconstitutional. Hey, you criminal justice warriors, I know y'all want to defund the police, which is stupid. You don't need to take money away from the police. You need to redistribute the funds. And you need to change your slogan from defund the police to redistribute funds inside policing. All right. Y'all need to go attack RICO, because RICO can get people really messed up, especially for those who came from the slums and have now left that life. Maybe they left their friends behind, and they have the association because that's what they came up in, but they're not involved anymore. I was in a rap group in high school. Max Def did not rap ever. I was just in a rap group. I was not a rapper. But if the Max Def guys decide to go crazy and they get hit with a RICO, yeah, I took the pictures. I went to a couple shows. I'm in a little video slideshow from back in the day, but like, I ain't doing that no more. I still rock with the guys, but I'm not doing that no more. I don't even think they doing that no more. I don't even think let me shut up. But the point that I'm making is, you can still have the association. You can have the affiliation with the people, but not the association with the acts. And I think RICO, hell, I think cameras at stoplights, I think informants, I think all of those should be illegal. Like, hell, I personally think roadblocks, speed traps, all that stuff should be illegal. You are looking for somebody breaking the law, not catching somebody breaking the law. The assumption, like that's assumed guilt, right? When you give a rat a wire to go get information, that means you were not good enough at getting the information that you needed. So now you got to deceive them because you're assuming guilt. Because if you already had the evidence, you'd have a warrant and you go get them. Right? You get the indictment. No problems. But you need the evidence, so now you got to send a rat in there. That means you're not doing your job well enough. Now, I'll give y'all undercover. I'll still let y'all keep undercover, which that's close to my list, but I'll give y'all undercover because it's you doing the work. But it's still you intruding on something, forcing somebody to entrap themselves. You know, if you didn't catch me speeding or speeding that school zone, that camera shouldn't have got me. Because what does that turn into? You can put a camera everywhere, and any crime that you see, the algorithm pings back to headquarters. Now we can take this person's information and we lock people up for every crime. We ticket every crime. So then we live in this super secure world, but we have absolutely no freedom. That's what RICO tells me. That's what snitches tell. Not snitches, because ain't nothing wrong. If you want to snitch, you go ahead and snitch. But informants, no. But I mean, somebody snitched on somebody. That's where this is coming from. Probably somebody from YFN snitched on YSL because of the documented street beef. Like, that's documented. But I don't want to talk about street beef because I hang out in Atlanta. I think they're gonna come after me. But some stuff I want to talk about, like involving that, right? And you heard her talk about using social media in the investigation, and they also use song lyrics, which is freedom of speech, which is entertainment, so if what's my man's name from Goodfellas, Home Alone. No. The bad guy from
Oh, the little guy.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, him, right? Anybody from a mob movie. If they happen to be connected to the mafia, because I think old boy from The Godfather definitely is. He's too good. If we use him acting in those movies to tie him to say the Gambino family, is that right? Should that be legal? You know,
No, it's entertainment.
exactly. So we're using song lyrics that some of these artists don't even write. They just perform. And they're doing it to relate to people because people want to hear about that gangster shit, even if they never done it or they don't do it anymore. And we're gonna use those lyrics against them. I only see it in hip hop. I don't see it in any other genre of music. What was it? Kelly, not Kelly Clarkson. Carrie Underwood said, "I took my key up to the side of his pretty little souped up 4-wheel drive, carved my name into his leather seat, took a Louisville slugger to both headlights, slashed a hole in all 4 tires." So if that happened to one of her exes or her dude, we just gonna just put it on her because she made the song before he cheats over 10 years ago. We gonna do that? Like, it was a hypothetical song.
And most of the stuff is dramatized for the entertainment.
Exactly. So how are we picking and choosing what's fact and what's fiction when you don't know?
Yeah.
But then that spawns the question, well, maybe people who are in the streets should stop making street music.
That's their outlet.
And they shouldn't have to, right? Well, like, and why can't I talk about my experiences?
Right.
And here goes into one of my criminal justice reform things that's unpopular. But if the behavior has been corrected without being caught, do they need to go to jail?
No. It was corrected.
Right. Like, if
It's not a recent offense.
I don't think Thug is still out here in the streets just banging and raising hell.
He doesn't need to. He may do it for fun.
I doubt it.
I know.
I assume people around him do.
Mm.
You know, the lesser paid, you know, the ones who may take their salary and try to make more with it by doing other things.
Mm-hmm.
He may be aware of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But he's just paying you to do your job. And what you do with your money after payday, that's on you. Honey. I don't care what you do with it. I just care that you provide the service that I need from you.
Mm.
But I do think it's an attack on hip hop. I think it's an attack on prominent Black culture. But I don't know, man. I don't know. And then, one of the charges is like being in a gang. Because being in a gang is illegal. So why ain't Chris Brown in jail? Why ain't Lil Wayne in jail? Why ain't Gucci Man in jail? Why ain't Snoop Dogg? Snoop Dogg crib walked and threw up crib at the Super Bowl. Ain't nobody. Hey, Mr. Dog, Mr. D-double-O-G. Hey. We're gonna have to
D-O-double-G.
D-O-double-G, yeah, we're gonna have to escort you out of here in cuffs. You know what I mean? I think the game is still walking around just fine. You know what I mean? And there's countless other gang members in the public eye who happily rep their sets, but those lyrics aren't being used against them for illegal gang activity just because they're in a gang. So with the RICO, right, are we going to hold every blood or every Crip accountable for the action of every other Crip because they're a part of the same organization? I think it gets really convenient, right? And we can apply it to corporations. So when the owner is scraping off the top, right, he's stealing from the stockholders. Are we going to lock up the janitor because he's part of the organization? Now, maybe I'm being a little bit dramatic here, but that's what Rico is telling me. We're holding people accountable for the actions of an organization. How about you hold the individuals within the organization accountable for their actions? And if you can tie it to everybody, then go get everybody. If we're running a drug ring, a prostitution ring, and we all are eating off of this, lock us up. But if I got guns and she got dope, but together the dope and guns make the guns illegal, but the guns were legal without her dope, what if I ain't know she had dope? I ain't know she had it. Why am I going to jail? That's crazy. Why am I going to prison? Oh, we're part of the same organization. Get with the RICO. Okay, and then lastly, as I close this out, at what point do you remove yourself from people who are living a not so legal life? If those are people that you grew up with, people that you came up with, people who've taken care of you, people who still look out for you, because I think what the justice system fails to realize is when these performers go in cities, they're targets. And some of these gang affiliations keep them safe. Some of the gang members keep them safe. Some of these guys who aren't afraid to get in a shootout, aren't afraid to get into a brawl, keep them safe. Because we hear about chains getting snatched, people getting jumped. I mean, the baby, he fighting every other week. I mean, he'll fight his security. He don't need security, but nonetheless, you see this type of stuff happen. And this is just these people trying to, make a living for themselves and also support those who are supporting them. And should my dope boy friend be punished because he's my security guard? Now, he's my security guard who happens to be a dope boy. I ain't got nothing to do with his dope boy business. I have nothing to do with that. I said, hey, man, stop selling dope. Come be my security guard. But if he chooses to take his $35,000 a month I'm giving him and put it back into dope, I can't tell him what to do with his money. Oh, well, then you fire him. Well, he's doing a good job as a security guard, and what he does in his personal life ain't my business.
Yeah, but if it affects your business.
But why should it?
True. I don't know.
Again, individuals should be held accountable for their actions. And I think what RICO, the goal of RICO was to attack organized crime. But I think what Atlanta is doing with RICO is trying to take a stance against taking a stance to clean up the streets. And the easiest way possible to get the convictions is to do it with RICO, because it's going to be harder to make individual crimes stick. And if you go back and listen to what the lawyer talked about in the video as I opened up the segment, it was about with RICO, you don't have to tie the crimes to the people. You just have to tie the people to the organizations and the crimes to the organizations.
Oh, yeah, no.
So it's easier to prove.
That's
whack. Look at you getting sleepy. But yeah, man, I just want to close it out with that. Prayers for Thug, prayers for Gunna, prayers for the YSL family. And here's what I'll say to you all as I close this out, man. Don't get hit with the RICO. Understand the law, understand the place that you are in life, understand the people that you have around you, and understand that when you come in somebody's house, you got to follow the house rules. So even if you don't like the laws, if the laws don't make sense to you, if you think it's whack, if you think it's a blatant attack on hip hop, I agree with you. But understand that you leave yourself exposed by the things that you do, the people you're with, and the things that they do. So look out for you, look out for them, stay safe, and free Thug. Slat, slat, slat.